always. The carpet is done. Yes. Now we have curtains that are going to go up, and I want to tell you that I'll take full responsibility. The sound is not right. You probably could recognize that during the service. So there's something that I plugged in. It probably is not in the right slot. So these speakers are crazy. They've got like so many different plugins. So it's probably inverted or something's wrong. I apologize. But is it okay? Will you bear with me? Rick is going, man, no way. I'm out of here. All I needed was an excuse. No. Anyway, the series that I am starting on is called A Friend of God. It's just confusing to me. I'll be honest. It's right up front. This boggles my mind. Here you have the God of all creation. You have a God that can speak into existence the entire universe. Who can create you and me, who can do all of this, who has to be a holy and perfect God. And if you want to understand that philosophically, our God is awesome and is maximally good. You do realize that, right? God is maximally good. He could only be that. In fact, I could argue the existence of God just on the foundation and the premise alone, the fact that there is good in this world. Because God is good. God is holy. He is just. He is awesome. How could I possibly have God be my friend? Wow. How is... I have a hard time wrapping my mind around that. And we're going to get to that. Can I believe this, that God is my friend? And we're going to look at that because in Isaiah chapter 41 verse 8, I'll read this. It's not on the screens. But you, O Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, you descendants of Abraham, my friend. So Abraham was called a friend of God. It's like a friend. Wow. What does it go through? Let me ask you this morning. You can participate with me. When I say the word friend, what comes to your mind? What's that? Amigo? What comes to your mind? What's that? Trust. Thank you.
My gorgeous wife.
I can't really say anything at this point because if I do, I will lose. So it's like, oh man. What else? Friend. What comes to your mind? Love? Companion? Confidant. Great. Trust. Yes. I have, as a pastor, you have a few friends, especially those who are pastor friends, I should say. And Scott Wallace, I could think Pastor Scott would be a friend of mine. Pastor Kurt, Pastor Floyd. I mean, these guys were just like really good friends of mine. And I remember we were at a pastor's conference in Portland by the airport. Now, at that time, Airport Road was really small, just 2 lanes, and it's not like it is now. And you would come off of that road, and then it would, if I get the right road, maybe you can correct me because you drive all over. You leave the airport, and you come to this bridge, and then there's a railroad track, and it dives underneath it. And then once you get there, there's a stoplight. And so Scott was ahead of me, so he took off, and he was driving his car. It was a little Chevy something. And then I got in my car, and he turned the corner, and then I turned the corner. But the light was red. And I'm going like 45, 50 miles an hour. And I turn that corner and I go, oh, he was looking in his rearview mirror. And he knew. You see, a friend knows the other friend. And he knows me so well that he was looking in his rearview mirror and he accelerated. All right, here's the light. Here's the railroad track. He's behind a car. He dives into the car right next to him, right next to the other car in front of him, and I am skidding to a stop right in where he was. And I'm thinking to myself, I talked to him later, I go, how did you know? Yeah. How did you know to look in your rearview mirror, knowing that I was behind you, and not only that, but have the wits at that quick second to dive right by the next car, and then I ended up almost barely didn't touch the person's bumper when I came to a stop. That's a friend. That is a friend. He is a great friend of mine. Anyway, that just illustrates that when there's friends, you kind of know each other. Now, if I was there, I wouldn't have probably done that. I'm just not as good a friend as he is, I guess. Okay, John, we're going to look at John chapter 15, verses 9 through 17 this morning. And Jesus is in a discourse. He's praying and he's talking with his disciples. And we're going to read through this. John chapter 15, starting at verse 9. As the Father has loved me, so I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. Mind-boggling to me. And we're going to walk through this. But we're going to progress through this in a way in which Jesus kind of unpacks this for us. Because it's against the backdrop of understanding what joy means, of understanding what human suffering means, and what a friend is. So let's kind of walk back through this. If you obey, here it is. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and have remained in his love. Look at verse 11. I have told you this so that. Now, what is this? I have it highlighted here. So I have told you this. Well, what is this? What this is the fact that because the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. And this means not only has the Father loved me, but I have loved you that same way. Obey me. Obey my commandments. That's what this is. So, if you look at this, I have told you this. This is, the Father loves me, I love you, obey my commandments. So that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. So here it is. So this is, the Father loves Jesus, Jesus loved us. Jesus obeyed the Father. We need to obey Jesus so that our joy can be complete. That's what it's about. It's a pretty simple formula. But what is joy? What does joy mean? Because you look at joy and you think, this culture that Jesus is speaking to, joy was hard to come by. So we need to look at this against the backdrop of human suffering. In fact, I love reading. If you ever get a chance to read C.S. Lewis, read him on the level of pain and suffering in this world. Because Jesus, if you look at Jesus, he says, I promise you, you will go through trials. You will. There's suffering, there's struggling, there's difficulty. That's just a part of what life is. In fact, if you look at this culture, most families lost half of their children before they were the age of 12. People got sick. People died. And if you were fortunate to get to the age of 12, you had a lot better chance to make it to your 40. Isn't that interesting? So if you look at human suffering, if you look at struggles, if you look at difficulties, what they say is this culture, to have a joyful or a cheerful moment, what this word means, to be full of cheer, is kind of the exception. It was the difficult. It was, I think today, I wonder, when we say, oh, I'm having a bad morning, or I'm having a tough time, or yeah, we might be, but you got to realize that most of humanity, for years and years and years and years and years, suffered and struggled every single day. It was the exception to be able to, wow, the tide of suffering and pain and struggles and hurts have subsided a little bit. And there was the glimmer and the glimpse of some joy. So you could see the appeal. You could see the understanding when these people would hear Jesus talk about joy. It was like, let me have it. That's what I want. And it's hard to even understand what joy is unless we understand what human suffering is. If we don't understand what it's like to struggle, it's hard to understand what joy actually means. Now, this is what's cool. Again, so that my joy may be in you. So it's talking about Christ's joy. It's talking about what he is talking about, peace. He wants that to reside in us. So it's not necessarily talking about the circumstances. I hope we understand. I hope we grasp that. Because what he says is this, if you look at this again, so that my joy, Jesus' joy, may be in us. And I love this word because really what this is, it's the same word as so that. It's just they're not going to repeat that in a translation. But it simply means this. It's a compounding. It's building. Jesus' statement, my joy may be in you so that your joy may be complete. It's an inclusive, compounding thought here that Jesus is saying to us. He's saying, not only do I want my joy in you, but by doing that, the formula that we just looked at, your joy will be complete. Now, what does that mean? Complete. What's Jesus talking about? This is what's cool. It doesn't matter if you have 20 friends. It doesn't matter if you have 3 friends. It will be incomplete without Christ when it comes to joy. If you look at the backdrop of your life and you can see pain and suffering, struggles, difficulties, a few bright spots, a few people in your life, and all of this, a great job or a wonderful marriage, or maybe it wasn't, or maybe all this whole canvas of your life. That you can have all of it. It can even be fantastic. You could have a great marriage, a great job, a great hobby. I mean, everything's hunky-dory. Jesus is saying, your joy is not complete without me. It's like, for me, let me tell you how I would relate to this. It'd be like having 11 donuts. Think about it. This is deep, deep truth. Any mathematicians out there? If I only had 11 donuts, what would I be short of? I'd be short of a dozen. What Jesus is saying is that you can have all of this in your life, but without him, you're short of a dozen. It would be like having a combination to a lock that you get all of the numbers right, but you can't doggone open the lock without the final last number, and that's Jesus. Yeah, you can have like I said, you could have 20 friends. You're still incomplete. You could have 3 friends, really close friends, still be missing something. You can have a great marriage. You can have a great job. You can have a great hobby. But without Jesus, without understanding what Jesus is saying here, your joy won't be complete. Now let's go into verse 12. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Now we're building to this friendship thing. We're going to get there. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Wait, let me read that again. My suggestion is this, is that you love each other as I have loved you. Let me read that again. You might do this: love each other as I have loved you. No, this is a command. This is a non-negotiable. Okay? There's some things that you can look at Scripture. You can look at Scripture and you can go, okay, yeah, we can interpret it this way. We can do it this way. When Jesus said, this is my command, love each other, that's it. It's a non-negotiable. Now, what does the word love mean? Let's go to that slide, the one that I should have gotten to earlier. I'm going to look at 4 loves in the Bible. Actually, 2 loves in the Bible, 4 loves in the Greek language. You got there? I got nothing. Let's go home. No. You wish. Okay, we can handle this. 4 loves. We know the word agape. Most of us do. Agape, it's committed love. Your sacrificial love. You lay down your life for your brother. That's agape love. It's not based upon emotion. It's based on a decision and a commitment. I think most of us understand agape love. The next one is phileo or philos love. That is a brotherly love. It's a love that it's like a family love, which is storge. There we go. We've got it. Storge. That's my baby dance right there. Storge is a family love. It's within your family unit. And boy, I'm telling you, you understand that when it comes to family love, right? Family is like, You can, I'll love my kid and I'll do and deal with or whatever my parents, but don't be messing with them. It's like they can treat somebody else the same way. It won't matter. It's that certain kind of family love. It's just a family unit. Phileo takes the family love and says, I will also reach outside of that into phileo love. The word Phil or Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. So you have agape, you have phileo, and then you have storge, which is interesting because in Romans chapter 12, verse 10, Paul puts phileo and storge together in a compound of what love is, which is fantastic. The last one is eros. That's a sensual love that the Bible really doesn't used in the New Testament, but it is in the Greek language. Now, we need to understand this because this is really, really cool. Because Jesus uses both phileo and agape in the same verse that we're going to get to. So to understand, when Jesus says, my command is this, is to love each other as I have loved you. To love sacrificially each other as I have loved you. He's illustrated, he's given us the example. That's the way we're supposed to love each other. Now in verse 13, it also says this, greater love has no one than to lay down his life for his philos. Isn't that great? Isn't that cool? Greater love has no one than this, than to lay his life down for his philos, his brothers and sisters that he loves. You don't really find these two words given this so close together, even in the same sentence, until Jesus spends a little bit of time with Peter after the resurrection by the Sea of Galilee, when Peter asks, it's too much to get into, but this is absolutely fantastic. When you look at this, so now we're moving into what friendship is and what this means. Now let's go to verse 15. Let's go to verse 14. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants. Now I get that. I totally understand this part of it. I no longer call you servants. I get the fact that I'm a servant of God. I understand that. He's the God of the universe. Who am I? I would feel like I'm so presumptuous to think that, yeah, God's my bud, God's my friend. I get better. I understand better the fact that God would be God and I am me and I'm his servant. That makes total sense to me. When he calls me friend, that blows my mind. If we can wrap our minds around that concept this morning, that God is actually our friend, it will change your life. It will change your approach to God. It will change your approach to each other. It will change your approach to life, that he loves you that much. Now let's go to this slide where I have God and I have man, and then we have friend in the middle. What's interesting about this picture, and I want to read what Spurgeon. Anybody ever heard R.C. Spurgeon? You ever heard? He's a theologian, a preacher, and he inspired me to write a song when I was in college, and it kind of goes like this. Because he's a preacher, and he is as a preacher, and you're studying for ministry, you just have people that you look up to. Dr. Spurgeon, an amazing preacher. It's like I just wanted to be like a Spurgeon. I did. I wanted to be like a Spurgeon. Preaching for the very first time. Like a Spurgeon with his Bible next to mine. No. Oh, man. About half of this room, the younger generation has no idea what I'm talking about. It's true. It did inspire me to write that. Anyway, I will get this back. I promise I will get it back. Some of you are going, no way. He's done. I've gone way too far. Okay, come on. Let's tie this up here. All right. Listen. Let me read Spurgeon. Seriously, let me read. I will find it. Okay. Spurgeon said this. It's C.H. Spurgeon. One comes down gladly, and the other rises in sympathy, as in relation to this text. God, I can understand me being a servant. But when God condescends, and that's a theological term, by the way, not just the secular term that people use. God condescends towards us. But what we fail to realize is the elevation that he takes, this graduation that he takes servants to becoming friends. He says, I no longer call you servants, but you're a friend. Now, God humbling himself and coming to this earth and cleaning up our mess is amazing. I want to illustrate this with my son, Justin. My son, Justin, was about a year old, and put him down for a nap. And, an hour or two went by, and you hear kind of some clunking going on in the bedroom, and, he's banging on the wall. Just little things that little babies do. And there's a crib. And I opened the door. What happened? No kidding. I opened the door. He had taken his onesie off, his diaper off, and he had painted this amazing mural all over the wall. Ooh, everywhere. All over the wall, all over the bed, everywhere. You know what? I cleaned it up. Got him cleaned up, put his little onesie on, put his diaper on with a chain around it. Duct tape, Took some cleaner to the wall, washed it all off. And I think to myself, that's what God did. He came down to not leave us in the mess, but he came down to graduate us from just being servants to being his friend. You see, he wants our joy to be complete, and God as a friend, I can trust him because we use those words. I can believe against the backdrop of my life that I look at it, and there's some good times, there's some struggles, there's some difficult times. Can you just imagine what these people have been through in their life compared to us Americans that have high level of science and technology and medical care and all the stuff that you and I have? I'm telling you that when I get hurt, I suffer more than anybody else does. I know that. I do. And we don't realize that there's a God who never promised that everything would just be perfect. That we wouldn't, these people had day in and day out of suffering. When there was when things relented, when things held back, when it wasn't as bad, there was these amazing times of joy. But not only that, but listen to this. It's because when Jesus Christ is in us, this whole backdrop of whatever we are going through begins to change, and our joy becomes complete from start to finish because Jesus Christ makes the difference. He's the part of that combination that unlocks the joy in our lives. It's not based upon trials. It's not based, our joy can't be circumstantial. It has to be truly based on who Jesus is in my life. That's what makes our joy complete. And he's my friend. It still blows my mind. I hope you can understand it this morning. It blows my mind that I can call God my friend. How the God of the universe, a holy God, says to us, no longer servant, I'm a friend of God. And when you understand that that's the kind of God you serve, he's your friend, that elevates us. It picks us up. He's my friend. And if I got a friend like that, a friend that sticks closer than a brother, a friend that lays his life down for me, the friend that I can trust, the friend that I can believe in, even though I'm going through difficult times, a friend that can get out of the way at just the right moment. All of those things. That's who Jesus is for you and me. Every head bowed and every eye closed.